Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Clutch Conversations. It's your boy Mike. I hope y'all having a fantastic Thursday evening. For me, I'm super excited because the weekend coming. College football is starting for us. The Gators play Utah this weekend, so I'm really stoked and excited about that. But first things first, we're gonna do this episode of Clutch Conversations. We got your boy Abe from Abe's Exotic Reptiles in the building. So really looking forward to that. But real quick, before we get to the guests and get to the dope ass conversation, please be sure if you're in this hobby in any shape, form, or fashion, please make sure you're supporting US Art and US Art Florida. The links for both organizations are in the description of this video. Keep in mind, US Art is the organization which uniquely advocates for our freedom and our to responsibly keep reptiles and amphibians. So please, if you're involved in this hobby in any shape, form, or fashion, make sure you're supporting US Art and US Art Florida. So again, without further ado, we got the homie Abe from Abe's Exotic Reptiles. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
Not much. You doing all right?
I'm good. I'm chilling. I just got home from work, kind of unwinding a little bit here, and was looking forward to getting on this call with you tonight. Definitely.
Okay. I heard you say like one of the first things you do when you walk in the house is go to the reptile room, unwind a little bit, and then you're good
Always.
for the rest of the night.
I do, and that's how I do it. You know, I tend to I feel like it helps me unwind, you know, from the workday, like from the day job, you know, where I'm sitting at a desk all day, sitting down, and you know, I can come here, I can take my shoes off, I can change, I can throw on some tunes in the snake room, and I can go in there and just start cleaning, and it helps me kind of like decompress from the workday, like that stress and bullshit that you get with work that piles up all day. I get home, and you don't want to bring that home to your family and stuff, right?
100%.
So yeah, and it's hard, and a lot of people, me included, like I have a hard time flipping that switch off. You know what I mean? Where I got to come home and kind of get into family mode, right? So I like to come home, you know, kind of change, go into my snake room, flip on some tunes, and clean for a little bit, and it helps me kind of unwind. It helps me kind of like decompress, and I go spend a half hour, 45 minutes in there, just kind of check on everything, change the waters for what I need to do, spot clean real quick. Then I'm good. Then I come down, I join the family, I'm kind of unwound from the day, and I'm good to go, you know, and I'll hang with the family for a few hours, and then I bounce back and forth into the room all night. You know what I mean? But it is basically the first thing I do, you know, when I get home. I always want to go out there and be sure everything's cool, just check on everything and make sure that everything's running well, you know. So that's what helps me definitely kind of unwind at the end of the day. Absolutely, man.
That's what's up. So real quick, introduce yourself. Give everybody a little bit of background on you.
Okay, so my name's Jason Abraham. My friends all call me Abe. So they have since I was like a little kid. You know, my buddies in my neighborhood growing up, you know, my short name was Abe. That's what they all called me, you know. So when I was thinking about a name for this business, Abe was there the whole time, like Abe's Exotic, Abe's Reptile, something like that, because I knew that there wasn't another Abe in the game, like in the reptile game. And I was like, well, that's unique.
Only Abe
like
in the game.
Yeah, like nobody else has it. Nobody else, you know, has anything even close to it. And I think I can run with it, you know. So
it's catchy too.
Yeah, and the thing that's cool to me is like people that call me Abe, I automatically kind of connect them with an old friend. You know what I mean? Like it's someone that's known me. It's someone that's known me for a long time. And when someone calls me Abe, I like it, you know, because it makes me feel like we've got a connection, you know. So I figured, you know what, this community is crazy. It's amazing. I love all the people in it, and a lot of these people are my friends in this game and in this community, right? So I figured Abe just worked because it's, you know, about the friendships, the relationships, and it was unique. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna roll with that. So that's how Abe's Exotics came. And as far as me, I've been in reptiles, you know, like everybody. You know, it started when I was young. I used to fish a lot. I still fish a lot.
Okay.
But I used to fish a lot when I was a kid. Like I fish, even now as an adult, I try to fish as much as I can. But when I was a kid, I always used to go to the local pond by myself, and I would fish all the time. And on the way home from fishing, in the area where I grew up, you know, there was a bunch of townhouses, rows and rows of townhouses in this area where I grew up. And coming home from fishing, I kind of developed this routine where I would start stopping at all these townhouses, and I would look down in the window wells. You know, the window wells, like when you have basements, like here in Chicago, you know, most places have basements. So down in the basement,
Not in Florida.
Yeah, not in Florida, yeah. But in Chicago, you know, most places have basements, and when you're down in a basement, they have these window wells, and it's basically a window. It's an escape route in case there's a fire, so you can get out of your basement. Is
Word.
basically what it is. So they have these window wells, and that's where the frogs and like the every all the like lizards and stuff would end up in all these window wells because these animals are cruising around at night. They fall down in there and they get stuck. They can't get out. So to me, it was like, all right, I would always see these frogs and shit stuck down in these window wells, and I'm like, I'm not going to leave them there to die. Like that's just wrong, you know. So I would jump down in these window wells, which I was a kid, so like the window well was like above my head, you know what I mean? And I would go down in there and pull out all the frogs and pull out anything alive, you know, try to save it. And if I found cool stuff, I would bring it home with me. And my mom was cool with it. You know, she let me keep frogs and various whatever, you know, in tanks around the house. And basically, that's kind of how it got started. And then when I was in high school, a buddy of mine got a Burmese python. We were like 15. He had it in a 10-gallon glass aquarium.
Oh
So,
wow.
dude, a berm. It was a baby berm. Like it was maybe like, you know, 18, 20 inches long, tiny. And I saw this thing at his house and I was like, what the fuck? Like you can keep these kinds of snakes in your house? Like what? And I couldn't like wrap my head around it. And long and short of it is I started kind of getting into doing it myself. I started kind of collecting. I started with boas. So
Okay.
boas and Burmese. So I, of course, my buddy had a Burmese, so I got a Burmese. And then boas. Like I was huge on red tail boas. Like my first 10 snakes were all boas. I didn't get a ball python until probably my 12th or 13th snake. And dude, I'm going back now. So this is like 1992. Okay,
Okay. So
like
there were a bunch
that
of
that,
more
that
so on scene and whatnot.
no, there were like the morphs were in boas, you know, and the red tails, and there was other stuff. There was albino, and I think there were pieds, yeah, at that time, but not much. You know, there wasn't much in the way of ball pythons. They were brown, like ball pythons were brown, and they just kind of sat there, and they didn't interest me at all. You know, at that point, I was doing boas. I liked the fact that they got big. They ate every week. The
Yeah.
Burmese, they ate everything. They would eat any leftovers. Like it just worked, you know. And then I started getting Dumerals boas. Um, I had Colombian and Brazilian red tail boas.
Oh,
I
nice.
had um, I had a white-lipped python, like a D'Albert's python, I think is the technical name for it. But I started with all pythons, you know, and basically uh, kept those for a few years. Was growing them up. You know, I was living in my parents' house down in their basement, so they had like an unfinished like bathroom, I guess you could say, down in the basement. It was drywalled, but it was a concrete floor, like a basement floor,
Okay.
and nothing else in there. No sink, nothing, just four walls, right? But it had a door that closed, and I could kind of control the temperature in there. So I built all these like tanks back at that time, big enclosures, like 4 feet long by 2 by 2, and I had them stacked to the ceiling. So I had walls of these like giant homemade enclosures that I built with 2 by 4s and plexiglass basically. And I kept all my boas and berms and that stuff in them. And basically I had to leave to go to college, right? So once I had to leave and kind of realize that I wasn't going to be able to do this reptile thing, the snake thing, I had to get rid of everything. Um, which was like, you know, one of the hardest things I've had to do. Suddenly I had this thing, this hobby that I loved. And keep in mind, like I never considered breeding then. Like this wasn't a breeding journey for me back then, Mike. Like this was just me loving these animals, wanting to keep them as pets, wanting to raise them because I thought they were badass. And I just thought it was so cool that you could keep snakes like this in your home and
Nice.
do it legally, you know what I mean? So it was crushing. I kind of got rid of everything. Um, because my parents couldn't watch, you know, they couldn't take care of these animals for me. Like they were not on board for that. You know, it was hard enough for them to let me keep this shit in the house, but they weren't going to help me like feed or clean or nothing like that. So I had to get rid of everything. And so I basically got out of reptiles completely for like 12 or 14 years, something like that. Um, I was still watching though. I was still watching what was happening in the reptile like industry. I was still going to Ralph Davis's like website to see what new morphs were coming out. I was still looking at other like big breeders, you know, to see what they were producing. And as all these new like genes started coming out, um, I was like, okay, these ball pythons are crazy. Like, I just want to get one, you know, and see how it goes. And this was in 2015.
So
So 2015.
what genes were catching your eye at that time?
I mean, it's basic stuff by today's standards, but I was like pastel lessers and shit like that, like those combos, and now there were these combos out, and I was like, holy shit, like look at what you can do now. This stuff didn't exist 20 years ago. Um, so suddenly, I see all these morphs, I see all this shit happening, and I'm like, all right, I talked to my wife, I'm like, listen, we have the room, we have the space. I think it'll be cool to do with my son. It'll be something for us to do together. And we went to a Tinley show in 2015, and I bought a snake that day. I knew I was going to, and my son and I kind of picked one up, and it was a pastel lesser. I got it from Tom Harbin. A lot of people know Tom. That he's done. I think he
Oh
was
yeah.
down in Daytona a couple weeks
Oh yeah.
ago. Yeah, and he was awesome. Like Tom is super cool. He was very welcoming and like very, Tom, he has this very soft spoken voice. He's got the southern charm about him, and he's just real chill, you know what I mean? And my son and I just kind of gravitated towards that, and we ended up buying the snake from him and brought it home and kept it in like a 20-gallon long tank around the corner in that room right over there. So it was kind of downstairs where we all were. And 2 years later, it was like 50 snakes, and I changed plans. Like my son kind of lost interest in it, quite honestly. He was in it with me in the beginning when we first kind of got this snake in
Yeah, been there
2015,
before.
and yeah, and quickly lost his like energy for it. Like he realized that it's just, I don't know, it's kind of
It wasn't
boring to
for
him.
him.
Yeah, like so it just wasn't for him, but I took it and I ran with it because I've always been doing reptiles and I had this long gap in between, and I was excited to kind of get back in. So basically took an office that I had upstairs, like an extra bedroom that I had made. It
Okay.
was like my office. I basically converted that office into the reptile room, and I got some breeder breeder racks and some sea serpents racks and started kind of loading everything up. And that was like 2015, 2016. And my first breeding was 2018. That's when my first clutch came from, that pastel lesser from Tom Harbin. We ended up breeding that girl to a yellow belly clown that I had bought. And my first clutch ever, I hatched visual clowns. Like it was crazy. I was so excited. Like not a
Oh
lot of
yeah, that's
people get
real though.
to do that, and I was
Yeah,
super
yeah.
excited about that. But nowadays I see this crazy shit. Like I saw a dude recently, his first clutch ever, he was hitting DG clowns, and I was like, what
Oh,
the
that's
fuck?
wild, bro.
Like, man, a lot of people just got to like leapfrog right over everything, right?
Like I
And
think I'm doing it big, producing double hits this year. But
yeah,
that's wild.
and so I started buying in, I started investing, I guess you could say, in like 2018. That's when I really said, you know what? I'm learning a lot about this game. I'm learning a lot about how you can make this work, about how you can do something you love and make a little cash on the side. And quite honestly, man, that's the American dream. That's how I see it. Like, there's not many people that get to say that they get to make decent money doing something they love. A lot of people don't love their day job. Not many
Right,
people love their day job, right?
right,
Some people do, but the opportunity that we have in front of us to be able to actually make some extra cash doing something, I would be doing it anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
once I got back in 2015, like I would be doing it anyway. So, but just the fact that there's a market for it now and it's blown up the way it did, it's made it that much better, of course, for everybody. So now things are kind of moving along. I'm going to be doing 13 clutches this year to give you an
13. Okay.
idea of where I'm at.
Is that
Yeah,
your
like
top
that's
number?
Yeah, in the last, like, as I've been building up over the last few years, as I get more and more females that are coming of age now, I'm starting to breed more. And but dude, I'm trying to keep it controlled too, very controlled. That's the thing. Like, I don't want this too many people let shit get out of control on them, and they're the ones who have to jump out. They buy too
Right.
many snakes, they buy too many males, they don't get the right guidance in the beginning, and they end up losing a lot of money and having to sell their whole collection and jump ship, right?
Right.
And I was not going to let that happen to me. So I realized really quick, like, kind of the model I wanted to follow, and that was kind of go big, like invest in the stuff that was going to provide a return for me and something that I love to work with. It's not just about, I guess, finding a gene that you can invest in and make money on. It's about finding a gene that you can invest in that you love working with. Like, that's the key to me. Like, if you buy something just because it's the hot new shit and you're working with it because it's the hot new shit, and but you don't love it yourself, then I have a
You're not gonna be
problem with that.
motivated. You're not
Yeah,
gonna be
man, like you're
motivated.
motivated by the cash, not
Exactly.
by the projects and by what you're creating. we're creating life here, right? Like that's the bottom
100%.
line. We are
100%.
creating life. And the way I
Living
see
art.
it, yeah, man. And the way I see it is we have a responsibility to uphold. And that is when we create these lives by pairing these snakes together and going through the whole process of hatching the eggs, we're responsible to make sure that those babies thrive and that we do everything right. And that we get
100%.
them eating properly and that we're IDing them properly and that we're doing everything right before we list it on Morph Market or before we show it on Instagram. Like I see so much shit on Instagram with people with bad IDs and they're new and they're like, look at this 10 gene combo I just hit, and it's like, man, there's 2 genes in there. Like anybody can see that like a mile away. But a lot of people jump in, a lot of people assume that there's genes in snakes that aren't there just because they know was in the parents and they just
Right.
can't accept the fact that the
That is
babies
not
didn't
there.
get those genes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's there. Like it's there. It's just very subtle. You just can't see it that well, but it's gonna come in with age, you know. No, that I don't. I have a hard time with that. So I like
Yeah,
genes you
people
can
do some
visually
wild
clearly
shit.
see. Yeah,
People do
man.
some
Yeah.
wild shit. Like not this past Daytona, but the Daytona before last. We was walking around, and I'm not gonna say anybody's name, but we went to the dude table. He was like, "Yeah, this just came out the incubator a couple days ago. Like it had just hatched." And so it was like, "How did you establish these babies? How do you know these babies are okay to sell? Like you in
Yeah.
such a
You
hurry to
don't.
sell them,
You
like you
don't.
just
And
brought them."
it happens a lot though, man. Like I see a lot of people at shows doing the same thing. They're selling babies that probably haven't even eaten yet. You know what I mean? A single meal because of the fact of when their clutch came versus when the show landed. Right?
Yeah,
Like that you can't control, right? You can't control when those babies hatch and when the show is scheduled for. So people are like getting a clutch, 2 weeks before a show, it sheds, but it hasn't eaten yet, or maybe it's had one meal and suddenly it's on a table. And it's not a horrible thing as long as you know that the person you're selling to is capable of taking care of this newborn snake and that they have access to fuzzies or whatever they're being fed, like so I ask questions like, Mike, my thing is when I sell a snake to somebody, I'm going to get you on the phone and talk just like I did with you. Like this is how Mike and I met. So Mike and I met because Mike bought a snake from me. And when someone hits me up on Morph Market or on Instagram or whatever, especially, if it's not like a very, very basic snake, like if it's over a couple $100, but generally I do it for everything. Like if you're buying a snake from me, I need to call you. I need to talk to you on the phone. I need to hear your voice and be sure that you're legit, you know what you're doing, and that I'm selling a snake to somebody that can properly take care of it. Like, I'm not just going to sell a snake to you because you hit me up on Morph Market and say, I want this. How do I pay you? That's
right.
not how I operate. I'm going to get you on the phone and say, hey, what's up? I'm Abe. Tell me about you. What are you going to put this snake in? How's it going to go? And I like to get the
Yeah,
backstory on the person and learn a little bit about them before I sell to them. And it takes my time. It takes time and effort and everything from me to get that done. But then I can comfortably, confidently sell a snake to somebody and not worry about, man, did I just sell that snake to someone that's never going to feed it and not going to take care of it and maybe it'll die. Like so I screen my
yeah,
customers, dude. Like
yeah.
it's
That's
crazy.
exactly what you did
But
too.
I do. And there's a
And it
lot of
was good that you
scams.
did that because now, and then we got a chance to meet, right? And so like
Yeah, absolutely. Like I
we
got you on the
might not ever
phone.
cross paths the same way.
Yeah, like, dude, like if you just hit me up on Morph Market and said, I want the snake, how do I pay you? And I said, here's how you pay me, and I ship you the snake. There's no exchange. You don't know me. I don't know you. There's a cash exchange and a snake, but there's no personal level exchange.
Right.
And I like that personal level exchange,
Me too.
especially with my customers. I want to know the people that are buying from me because I want to check in on you in the future. I want to see how the snake is that I sold you in a couple of years. I'll hit you up randomly and say, show me pictures of that thing. I want to see how it's doing. And I think people appreciate that. The
Yeah.
follow
Yeah.
up, the follow through, because there's not a lot of that in this game. And I take pride in customer service. It's kind of what I do for my day job. And I kind of translated that into my side business,
Yeah.
of
I'm the
Abe's
exact
Exotic
same way.
Reptiles.
The exact
Yeah,
same
man.
way. I think one of the things though, like with taking pride in your customer service and kind of taking that from maybe previous roles you have or other roles
Yeah,
that you have, is you expect that from yourself and then you expect it from other people. The
definitely.
downside is not necessarily a downside, but one thing you'll see is you don't necessarily get that back from everybody else.
That's true. That's very true. And when I'm buying a snake from somebody, if I don't know you, but you have something I want to buy, You're damn right I'm calling your ass because I'm going to talk to you and I want to ask you questions and just be sure that everything's cool before I buy the snake from you. If I don't know you, if I know you and I bought from you before, great. I
It's
want
all
this. Let's
good.
do the exchange. Yeah, but if it's someone I don't know or someone new or a new seller on Morph Market, that's always a red flag, right? Even if they're totally legit. A new seller, you see that little flag next to their name and
Yeah.
it makes you go, let me reach out to them and see what's up. You know, so that's how I do it. Because I just want to know that everything's legit front to back. I want to know who I'm buying from. I want to know the pairing information. Sometimes they don't put the pairing information in the Morph Market ad, so I'll call them and say, hey, tell me about the parents, you know, and give me a little information about you. Let's talk, and I get to know them. And then if I'm comfortable spending large sums of money with them, I will. You know what I
Word.
mean? But it takes a trust. I have to
Oh
develop a
yeah.
trust with you, yeah, to be able
Absolutely.
to spend that kind of
Absolutely.
money. Yep.
On that
Yep.
same note, have you experienced like any customer service nightmare, or you have any horror stories to share? You ain't got to say anybody's name.
I have a couple. I have a snake that was shipped to me, and I guess it's the customer service thing. I have a snake that was shipped to me a couple years ago, um, and the dude lived about 2 hours from me.
Okay.
So I saw him list the snake on Morph Market. I'm in Northern Illinois, like I'm about 30 minutes north of downtown Chicago. I'm up in the suburbs now, so and I'm about 15 or 20 minutes from the Wisconsin border. So I'm as far north as you can go in Illinois without basically crossing into Wisconsin, right? And this dude is in Wisconsin and like 2 hours drive from me. And I hit him up and I said, hey, I want to buy this thing. I didn't make him an offer. I wasn't negotiating. I wasn't doing that. Like I saw the snake. I knew I wanted it. And I just said, hey, man, I want to buy this thing. Can I swing up this weekend and pick this thing up? I'm like 2 hours from you. I'm in Northern Illinois. And he came back to me and he said, no, I'm not going to let you come to my house and pick this up or meet me somewhere to pick it up. Like, I'm doing a shipment tonight and I'm shipping 5 other snakes. And if you want this, it's going to go out on with FedEx tonight. And I was kind of like, all right, it's kind of a dick, but whatever. I wasn't sure how to take it, and I was like, all right, well, fine. Like, all right, ship it to me. Like, and it wasn't even the money. I probably would have spent $40 in gas driving to them. You know what I mean? And I probably
Yeah.
paid $50 for shipping. Like, I just wanted to go pick it up because it was the dead of winter and it was freezing in Chicago. Like, it was like 10 degrees
Yeah,
when I
it's
was doing
cold
this.
in Chicago too. Like I
Yeah,
went to Chicago one time, not to get too far off track, but I
yeah,
went in like November, like coming from Gainesville with a Gainesville jacket, which I thought
yeah,
was a heavy jacket. It was
yeah.
nowhere near enough, brother. With the way that wind hit
Oh
me, it just
man.
like it rocked my soul. It'd be cold in Chicago. It
It's
hit
it's
different.
it's it's
Yeah.
horrible. Like, it's not. I don't recommend anybody live here, quite honestly. Like, it's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
That
born and
cold
raised
hit
Chicago,
different.
and I'm raising my family here, but I don't plan on staying here the rest of my life. No way, man. Like, I need to get somewhere where it's warm. I want to be able to, not have it where I have to button up my house and close all the windows for 7 months a year because that's what I have to do. Like, it's that cold here where the summer's super short. It's beautiful. We have an incredible summer in Chicago, but it's only like 2 months long, and then it starts, turning into fall and getting cold pretty quick.
Gotcha.
Um, I need just a longer stretch of warm weather. I can handle cold, don't get me wrong, but just not below zero shit like Chicago provides for like months at a time because you could get it below zero for like a month straight, or hovering around 0 to 10 degrees for a month. Like, it's horrible after a couple of weeks of that, going out to your car every morning that's frozen solid and all the bullshit that comes with that weather. It gets old, and
Yeah, I can
as I'm
imagine.
getting
Real quick.
older, like, I'm less tolerant of the cold. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? I like being in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops, and slides, and I like to be like chilling, you know what I mean? I don't like being all bundled up in multiple layers because that's what I got to do in the winter.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting sick of it. And quite honestly, man, I'm counting the years until I can get out of Illinois and move somewhere warm. It's been great. It's been good for me. It's been good for my family. It's been a great place to raise a family, but I'm done. I'm done with the weather aspect of it. Um,
Gotcha.
so back to the story about
Yeah, I was
this.
gonna say what happened
Yeah.
with that shipment.
Yeah. So it was like 10 degrees that week when I was buying this snake.
Oh wow.
And that's why I wanted to go buy. That's why I wanted to drive and go pick it up because I was like, you know what? I can do this on a weekend. It's close enough. I don't want this thing being shipped. It's freezing. Like, you're
It's too
not supposed to
cold. Yeah.
ship. You're not supposed to ship below 30. And this dude was like, I'm shipping, and I was like, holy shit. Oh, okay, whatever. You know what you're doing, And so Next morning, I go pick the snake up at FedEx at the hub. Like, I never have anything delivered to my house. I live 5 minutes from the FedEx hub, which is like, I think a lot of people take it for granted. Like, I'm very lucky that I can, when I'm shipping snakes out at night, my cutoff is 8 p.m. I get there at 7:45. I leave my house at 7:40. I'm there at 7:45, and I'm making it on the cutoff before everything gets cut off at 8. And I do that because it's less time for the snake to spend in the box. That's what I try to do. Like, people will ship snakes at 11 in the morning, and they're traveling all day on a truck and then getting back to FedEx and then traveling all night to their destination. And it's a lot of time in the box and on trucks. I can cut all that out by, dropping it off myself late night, right before that deadline. It's, 4 or 5, 6 less hours in a box. That could be the difference between life and death. So anything I can do to minimize that risk, I'm going to do it. But I pick up the snake that morning. It's like 8 degrees that morning when I go to pick up the snake. I go out to my car. I'm instantly nervous because I know how cold it is outside. I cut open the box in my car, like in the parking lot of FedEx. I didn't even bring it home. I just wanted to see. And I picked the snake up out of the box, and it's hanging dead like a limp noodle.
Wow.
It froze. So basically, like, the lower half of the snake from like the midsection down to the tail was almost frozen like a popsicle, like hard to the touch. And but the top half of it was still like loose. You know what I mean? It wasn't frozen solid, but it was very cold. So I'm holding this thing up and I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm recording it on my phone because I'm pissed, at this guy, because I was going to text him this video and show him this video. Like, dude, I just unboxed this thing. This is what it looks like. It's basically dead. I think it's dead. Like, to me, I thought it was dead. I'll be honest with you. And I take a bunch of videos real quick, and I'm all angry, and I'm looking in the box to see how he did the heat. And the first thing I noticed was that the heat pack was underneath the snake, wrapped up in a whole bunch of like newspaper, right? So he set up a heat pack, wrapped it in a whole bunch of newspaper, and then put a little bit of like the filler, that padding stuff, the cushy stuff. I forgot what they call it. The polyfill, that you use for shipping. Yeah. So he put some polyfill over the newspaper, and then put the snake on top of that in a bag. So I pull this thing out of the bag. It's half frozen, half dead. I'm freaking out. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't even want the snake shipped in the first place, right? Because I was worried about this exact shit happening. And then it happens. And I get, and basically I'm like, all right, I know that snakes can handle this cold. This thing is partly frozen. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with it. So I kind of put it in my lap and kind of held it in my palm while I was kind of driving back to my house one-handed, right? So I'm holding this thing, and when I pull into my driveway, about 5 minutes later, I'm kind of looking down at this thing, and I see its tongue come out of its mouth like a millimeter,
nice.
like not a tongue flick, but I see the tongue suddenly out of its mouth, and I'm like, is this fucking thing alive? I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, is this thing actually alive? Like, its bottom half is frozen solid. So I'm like, okay, I remember hearing about this before from other people. You're not supposed to heat them up quickly. You're supposed to kind of leave them in a room to let them kind of warm up to room temperature first. You leave them at room temperature for a couple hours, then you move them into the rack. Because if you take them from that frozen state and throw them right into your hot rack, it could be such a sudden change. It just shocks them and kills them. So it's like a slow, gradual warm up. So I did this slow, gradual warm up, put it in a tub. It still wasn't like, it started defrosting, but it still wasn't moving. But I could tell it was alive because it was breathing. And kind of put it in a tub, set up some water, like went about my night, and checked on it before bed. And I kind of lifted it up, and it was like basically thawed out at that point, and its tongue was out and was flicking. I'm like, my God, this thing might be okay. Next day, I found it on the other side of the tub the next morning. So it had moved itself. Nice. So that made me happy that this snake could still function. Like, it could still push itself around the tub. It still had function of its lower half of its body. So it survived. You know what I mean? And in the end, I have it today. It's a great snake. It's upstairs. She's a girl. I'm hoping she breeds for me this year. She's been great. She's a great eater. But
that had to be scary though. Like,
dude, it was scary. And on top of it all, like, the worst part of it all was she shed while she was in that bag being shipped in that frozen weather. So she had this dry shed that took place in the box. Okay. So this thing shed in the box. So once I actually was able to inspect it, now that it was alive and moving, I see that it's got eye caps and it's got, shed stuck to it. And I'm like, shit, man. And it's missing like a scale. Like, I think it had such a bad shed and it was so dry that when it started peeling back the shed on its head, it tore off a couple scales off of its
Oh,
head.
wow.
And I was like, "What the fuck? This thing's missing a couple scales." Like, the whole experience was horrible customer service, I guess is where I'm going with this, like, front to back, everything from him not letting me come pick it up on a freezing cold, weekend when I could have just easily picked it up, to it shedding in the box, to the heat being on the bottom, and this thing basically freezing to death, and then coming back to life or whatever, and then and then I reached out to him. I'm like, dude, this thing was dead. Like, I don't know how you package this thing, but this thing was frozen solid. Like, oh, and he's like, hey man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I put a heat pack in there, and he was very kind of cold about it. And so at that point, I learned, all right, I'm never going to deal with this person again. And
Right.
B, I'm never going to be that guy. Never will I let that shit happen to a customer of mine. No
That's
way, man.
wild, bro. I can't imagine.
Like, dude, it was like I learned a good lesson from it, and it's how to not treat people. You know what I mean? And dude, you got he. I would have been doing whatever I could to make it right, and saying, hey,
Absolutely.
keep me posted. So, I would. Didn't care. He wanted no information from me. Didn't care. He didn't even ask me like, did it live or did it die? I told him, I'm like, yeah, well, dude, it's still alive, but it was frozen solid like a popsicle, except for like its
That's
head and neck, and he could have cared less, So I
that's
learned from
that's
that.
wild.
I learned how
I'm
not to
glad the
be.
snake pulled through though.
Yeah, man, it's doing good. It's doing good. But circling back to customer service, that's my thing. I focus on it in my morph market terms of sale, in my store policy, and I hold to it. A lot of people don't. You look at a lot of these store policies on morph market, a lot of people say all this shit, but they don't follow through. They don't do everything they say they're going to do in the store policy. Sometimes they
Yeah.
do, but a lot of the people don't. But I make sure that I do because it means a lot to me. It means a lot that maybe somebody will buy another steak from me in the future, or if anything, I've established a relationship with this person, and that's a good bond to have no matter what. This business is all about networking, right? Networking
So
through
would you say
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's networking. You know,
on your store policy, would you say there's some unique aspects of your store policy that you don't see in other folks' store policy?
Not really, not really, except that I kind of drive home the fact that I'm very customer focused, and you know, and you call me anytime if you have a problem. When you buy a snake from me, I'm sending you all my information, and the last thing I'm writing on my little note in that box is, "Here's my cell phone number. You call me if you need anything. No question is stupid, and I don't care if you're brand new or you've been doing this 10 years. Just call me, and if anything, we'll just shoot the shit. You know what I mean? Like I like people to just call. Um, I talk to snake people every night. You know what I mean? Like for hours. Like it drives my wife crazy. You know what I mean? Because I'm always like in my own world, doing my own thing, and kind of moving around the house, having conversations, and but every night, I talk to probably two or three different people on the phone just to like catch up on what's going on in our collections, what's going on with our breeding, what's going on with our babies, and I like that. I love it. I love the connection with people.
Nice.
I'm a social guy. Like I love being in big groups of people. I love, being out and about. And this community has a lot of that, so it's a perfect mix for me. I'm doing something I love. I'm meeting badass people that have the same, passions I do. And it's hard, when you like people think, when you tell people that you do snakes, they think you're weird, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but when you
They'd
can
be like,
find
you do
other
what?
yeah, but when you find other weirdos that like the same shit you do, and you realize you have shit in common with them besides the snakes, that's how other relationships start too. So
Absolutely.
I have a lot of friends now in the reptile game that are very good friends that started as a reptile connection, and now we're just good buddies in life. You know what I mean? And I owe
Nice.
a lot of that to the reptile game and to, the connections I've made along the way. And it's important, to put
You just
yourself out there and, like you're doing now. Like you've only been doing this a couple years, Mike, right? And look at
yeah,
you.
only a
Like
couple years.
you got the show going, you got a big following on Instagram. Like you're doing it right. You're putting yourself out there, and a lot of people are nervous to do that. You know what I mean? I was nervous to do that for my first few years. Like I was like, man, I'm not doing YouTube videos of my snakes like in my room. Like, why would I
Yeah, I
show
ain't gonna
people
lie, I
that?
was
Like,
nervous too, bro.
yeah, like, and I was like, and I don't know how I'll be on camera. Like, I don't know if I'll be good at like describing what I want to describe. And what I learned after I did a couple YouTube videos was that it came pretty naturally to me.
It does, bro, because I watched
It
your
did.
first YouTube video, like the introduction video,
Yeah.
and you was introducing yourself, and like one of the
Yeah.
first things you said was like, like I'm out of my element or something to that nature. But
I
then you went
did.
on it and killed the video. I was like, out of your element,
Oh,
where,
nice.
bro?
I appreciate that. Yeah, but that was the first video I did, and after I did a couple videos, I was like, "You know what? This is actually pretty easy, and I'm pretty comfortable doing it. I'm not nervous in front of the camera, um, and I feel like I'm pretty clear in what I'm describing, and, I felt like the videos went well." Like, I haven't been great with YouTube, I'll be honest. Like, I wish I was staying on top of it more, especially now, like, during hatchling season when there's a lot of content that I could and should be recording, but I'm not.
Same
Um,
here. Same
yeah,
here.
dude, I kinda do a lot of stuff on Instagram. I try to focus my stuff there, which is probably a mistake considering, how they're taking
Man,
down these Instagram accounts, like, randomly and shit's just
yeah, and then
disappearing
IG
on
just
people.
changed the whole game on everybody. So like now you got to
Dude,
relearn how you brand yourself. Not necessarily relearn how you brand yourself, but relearn how
y
you market yourself on IG and the new rules because it's
well,
totally different now.
I feel like you gotta relearn how to gain traction nowadays on Instagram
Yeah,
because now that they've made every video that you post a reel, you're not getting the same traction. Like when I used to post reels, I used to get 1,000, 2,000 like likes, and they would just go crazy. And I was like, damn, I'm not doing anything crazy here. Like this is nuts how it's just kind of taking off. But slowly over the last couple months, I've seen things really kind of fizzle down. And it's
yeah,
once Instagram made that change and made all reels or all videos reels. So any video you post now automatically becomes a reel, where there used to be Instagram videos and Instagram reels. And if you
right,
posted a reel, Instagram's trying to compete with TikTok. So they're showing your reel to a bunch of people that aren't even on your friends list. And that's
right.
how you're gaining those followers and getting that exposure. So now everything's a reel, and now a lot less people are seeing your stuff because everybody's seeing all these reels now. So I
Right.
feel like it's hard to gain traction right now, unless you're doing like really kind of over the top crazy shit that makes people have to watch where you just can't look away because it's so intriguing. You know what I mean? But that's hard. Like you got to be creative to do that. And you got to be creative to keep the reels fluid and keep them moving and keep people interested. And I thought I was, and I thought it was keeping things moving. And I see lately, it doesn't matter how many reels I post or how good they are or how bad they are or what songs I put to them or if I don't put any song, it doesn't matter. They're just not getting that same traction that they used to over the last couple months since Instagram made that change. It seems like
Yeah,
the snake stuff, the reptile stuff just isn't being shown as much, like on the
yeah.
general feeds and shit.
At least for me, it
So
does. It seems that way.
it's hard. Like it is hard to pick up followers nowadays, is what I'm learning on Instagram. And I think doing YouTube videos helps a lot gain you traction on Instagram. But I'm also nervous of Instagram because of what's happening with them just taking down accounts and not even telling you why. Like they'll take down your account and be like, your account suspended. And you're
Yeah,
like, what the fuck? And
yeah. I saw
it's
somebody
happened to a
post
lot
something
of,
about that today.
yeah, like it happens a lot, and people don't even know why or what they did or what caused their account to get flagged and taken offline. And some people lose years and years of pictures and history and
Right.
everything, just because one person reported them to put them on Instagram's radar, and then Instagram took them down for whatever reason, and now they're fucked and starting over, and that's a hard pill to swallow, I think, for anybody where, you're not gonna
100%.
have you're not gonna have that happen on YouTube. They're not gonna take your account down unless you do something like insane, right?
Right.
Um, but Facebook and Instagram now, they'll flag you and take your shit down instantly by just putting in a word they don't like a political word that they don't like.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
politics involved in this too now. So it's kind of sticky, with Instagram and Facebook nowadays. But that's where I generally do most of my stuff. I've been kind of slacking on YouTube, but
I don't
hopefully I
even
get
do
back
much on
into it.
Facebook these days because it's so easy to get in Facebook jail these days over something small. And so there's that. Then it's drama on Facebook a lot of times, and
There's that
it's just too
too.
much to deal with on Facebook. So I'll get on Facebook. I probably get on Facebook like once, twice per day. And just scroll real
Same.
quick. If I see something that I like it or love it or whatever.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? But
That's
I don't
it.
spend a whole lot of time when I'm on Facebook though. Most of the time is real focused. Like I'm going to look at specific things. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if you know Country Wayne. I watch the Country Wayne episodes like every
Yeah.
day.
There you
But
go.
and then I'll go to like groups, like specific groups, and just like see what people posting, like clown ball python groups and stuff like that. And then I get on Messenger, but just like spending a
Yeah.
whole bunch of time just cruising around Facebook, I don't
It's
do that
rare.
anymore.
Like I'm at the
Yeah,
point, Mike, where I use Facebook for my personal life, like family stuff. I use Facebook for like communicating with friends and family and showing pictures of what's going on in my life, not my snake stuff. Like I do have a Facebook business page, that's, separate from my like personal page.
Right.
And everything that I post to Instagram, I haven't posted to my business page on Morph Market, but I try to keep like the business and the personal lives separate on
Gotcha.
Facebook, because Facebook doesn't have like, once Facebook shut down all the snake groups like 3 or 4 years ago, whenever that was, when all the groups suddenly just started getting shut down, groups that had 10 and 12 years of history and lots of information there, suddenly gone. That's when I was like, fuck Facebook, I'm out of here. Like, because everything I used to go there for was suddenly gone. You know what I mean? And suddenly all
Right.
the groups that I liked were gone. And yeah, there's still like a couple clown ball python groups and desert ghost ball python groups. And there's still specific gene related groups, but you don't have like the big huge groups anymore. It seems like a lot of those got taken down. I think a
Gotcha.
couple of them survived somehow. I don't know how, but a majority of them and a majority of the groups that I liked kind of hanging out in were gone. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this Instagram thing. I'm done with Facebook. Like, and so I jumped over to Instagram maybe like 3 years ago, for the first time ever. Like, I didn't even, my kids used it all the time and I would see them using it. It looked so foreign to me. Like, I was like, what is that? You mean it's just pictures? Like, you're just looking at pictures with no comments and no like communication? They're like, yeah. My kids thought I was like crazy. So once I got on the Instagram game and started understanding it and started learning how to use it to my advantage and use it as free advertising, because that's what Instagram is, man.
Right.
Instagram's free advertising if you use it correctly. But it's hard, lately it's hard to get that traction, to get those followers and to keep things moving. And, you got to post every day. That's what I know. You got to post something every day, and you got to post, at least a story every day to keep yourself in the algorithm. Because as soon as you stop for a couple weeks, you fall out of that algorithm and nobody sees your stuff anymore. And I
Gotcha.
notice it. Like, if I don't post something for like a week and then suddenly I post like a great picture, or at least a picture that I think is great,
You don't
and
get
I'm
the same kind of
expecting it,
traction.
dude, I get like 50 people like it. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is crazy to me. So I noticed that as soon as you stop posting consistently, you get a lot less traction. If you're posting every day, that's what keeps you in the mix, but it's still hard when you're posting every day, is what I'm seeing lately.
I definitely
Yep.
got some tweaking to do to my social media strategy. First and foremost, I
Yeah.
need to be more consistent because I don't post every single day. Some days I just get caught up, get too busy, whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't post every single day. And so I need to do better than that, better than what I'm doing right now in terms of like the frequency and consistency of posting. Even if, like
Yeah.
you said, it's just a story or just something, I need to post every single day.
Yep. Yeah,
Right
you
now,
do.
I'm not doing that. Like, I know that would be a lot. That would be helpful.
It's a lot, but
So,
I learned that it's easy to walk into the snake room in the morning, bring my camera in there with me before I go to work, open up a random tub, pull a snake out, put it in my
snap
hand,
a
take a
picture.
picture, story, boom, done. At least you're keeping that moving, even though it's something people might have seen 10 times already. You know what I mean? At
It's
least it's
something.
something, right? To keep that algorithm in your favor. So
Yeah.
I see that as, it takes just a minute and it'll keep things kind of moving forward for you. But yeah, I see that it's hard lately. It's hard to pick up followers. It's hard to pick up, anything on Instagram lately. It seems like the animals in general, and I'm hearing this, from other friends that I know that do like dogs and other animals on Instagram. They're seeing the same shit we are with the reptiles. Like, the traction isn't there right now,
Gotcha.
and it is for certain people, like, the big dogs who have big content and collaborations with people. Like, they're still pushing forward, but for the average Joe who's just trying to like build their followers and keep things moving, it's tough. It is. It's tough.
Are you on Vero?
No, not yet. So I've had a couple conversations with friends about this lately, and when Facebook had all those groups shut down, all those animal groups shut down, I can't remember what it was called, but it was something like Vero. There was this hot new app that everybody had to use, and everybody started jumping over to Vero, or not Vero. I forgot what it was called. Um, Gosh, I wish it would come to me, but it's not. But anyway, it was some weird little app I've never heard of. Everybody said, go download this app, and it's a free for all. You can do whatever you want. You can post items for sale. You say whatever you want. They don't take you down. Like, it's a free for all. And dude, it never picked up. Like, not enough people joined it to make it worthwhile. You know what I mean? I think there was maybe 200 or 300 people that jumped over to this other platform when Facebook started shutting down all the groups, and it just never got going. It never got enough traction, and I feel like Vero is another one of these. like that's popping up, giving people an option where they can go do whatever they want, right? Without being policed by anybody. You know, you can go on Vero, they're not taking down your shit. You can post items for sale, you can post whatever you want, you can swear, you can post crazy videos, whatever, and it's not going to get flagged or taken down or have any problems. But is that platform going to gain that traction to get enough people on board so that it makes it worth your time to post there?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
I haven't done
And
it
it
yet.
says it's ad free. Do you know how they make money?
I don't. I don't.
Yeah, I
I
always
have no idea.
like when I see that it's ad free, that always make me question the business
So did
model.
you
Like,
did
how
you
are you
do it?
making
Did you
money?
join it?
So I joined it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't logged in a few days, but I did join it like last week or the week before when everybody was like posting up. So I created an
Yeah.
account and I followed a bunch of people, but at
Yeah. I
least
mean,
I'm on there. I created an account. I did the first thing, took the first step.
I yeah, like
I
I
haven't
created a
posted though.
yeah, I mean, I did a TikTok account like a year ago. My kids were like, "How do you not have a TikTok account? Like, if you want these snakes to be seen, you want the kids to see them, you got to do that on TikTok, you know?" And I was like, "All right, whatever." So I give my phone to my daughter. 30 seconds later, she has an account fully created for me and ready to go, and hands me back the phone. And she's like, "All right, here, just like post whatever you want, you know?" And I posted a couple random videos that I had posted previously, I think on Instagram. And I haven't done shit with it since. You know what I mean? Like that
I
was a
got
year
under
ago.
10 posts on TikTok.
Yeah, so do I, for sure. I think I might have like 5 or 6, and it's all stuff that I've reposted from Instagram, you know what I mean? So, I don't know enough about TikTok or how it works or how to gain traction and leverage on it, but I know that it's valuable. I know it's a valuable tool for a lot of people, and I know
Yeah,
I
yeah.
should be using it. I know I should be using it more because the bottom line is these kids coming up in this game right now, they're the next generation of reptile breeders, right?
100%.
So, we should be trying to push that good energy and push that information down to them so that they don't think it's a weird thing. They don't think that ball pythons and snake keeping in general is weird or reptiles in
Right.
general is weird. They're more accepting of it because they see it everywhere. So I just need
Speaking
to
of
get on. I need to get on board with TikTok. Is what I got to do. It's just to me, like I think of TikTok and I think of just like you know, kids doing these stupid ass dances, they're like doing these certain moves to the songs and they all do the same shit. Like that's what I envision when I hear TikTok, right? And I remember my kids like standing in my
Same here.
kitchen, setting up their phone, stepping back and doing these weird ass dances. And I would sit and watch them like, man, it's so strange to me. I'd be like, why are you doing that? My daughter would be like, because everybody does it, and I was like, all right, I've never seen you doing that though. Not that. Nope.
Yeah, I think my son got like 20, 30,000 followers, something crazy. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
like, I got like 500.
Yeah, I think I have like 50, if even that, and they're all my friends. They're all like people that know me. It's nobody that like found me randomly. It's all people that like knew me.
And he'll
Yep.
post like some random stuff, like a picture of his like shoe, and get like 500 likes. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. My son shows me, he'll be like, hey, check this out. I just posted this like 30-second video of me playing Apex Legends. It's this game. He's a gamer and he plays this
Okay.
Apex game. And he's like, I just posted this video of Apex. I got 23,000 views and likes. And I'm like, what? Like, and he's not even talking. He's doing nothing. He's basically showing his computer screen with his phone and what he's playing in this game. Like, it's wild to me.
Yeah,
I
yeah, it's
don't
definitely
understand.
wild.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
So going back to training up the next generation and like helping the next man learn about the game, you have any mentors?
No, I really don't. I'll be honest with you. I wish I did. Um, I kind of had a few. I mean, I wouldn't say I had a mentor, like a go-to person that I could call whenever I wanted to get answers. I've learned on my own. And granted,
Gotcha.
man, I I had all this experience from the snakes I kept many, many years ago. So I understood a lot of the basics already. I understood the function of the snakes. I read lots of books on snakes when I was first getting into them because I wanted to understand like how they were made up, how their organs functioned, how things like uh, I learned about, everything about the snakes. And it was incredibly interesting to me. And I just kind of, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people in this game, like a lot of people who keep snakes and ball pythons, don't even know like the anatomy of snakes. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't. It's kind of surprising to me, but I
Yeah,
feel like it's something you should know. Like it's something that you should have a basic understanding of because you're likely going to encounter a situation where you're going, do I take the snake to the vet or can I deal with this shit myself? You know what I
Right.
mean? That happens all the time to people. So I felt like it was worth my time to read a few books and understand, how snakes worked. So I did
I have
that.
a book called How Snakes Work.
Do you? So
Hmm.
the book that I read, man, I used to have it down here as a matter of fact because I was showing it to
Yeah, I'm
somebody
looking to see if
recently.
I have it right here, but it's in my room.
I think I brought it up. Wait, no. Well, anyway, the book I had, it was called The Reproductive Husbandry of Boas and Pythons. And it was basically a book about how they reproduced and how to breed them and how to and the basic understanding of, and it was not ball pythons, like it was all snakes, right? Boas and pythons. And they had a section, like a 5-page section in that big book on ball pythons. But it's not by today's standards. The book is grossly out of date. Like the shit doesn't even really apply anymore as far as like the breeding aspect of what's in this book. But it gives you the basic understanding of what, for me at least, of what I needed to know to kind of move forward. So I learned
Right.
about it young. I had a good understanding of snakes many years ago that I just brought with me, when I got back in 7 or 8 years ago. I still remembered everything. It was like riding a bike as soon as I brought another snake back into the house. And then the next thing I know, I had 50. And it was easy. It was easy for me. Like I developed my own routines, my own habits, and to me, it just kind of fell into place. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have a lot of relearning to do. The only relearning I had to do was ball pythons versus boas, because generally I was boas before,
Gotcha.
and boas eat all the time. They're just much different. They're much easier in a lot of respects, right? Ball
Oh yeah.
pythons, they don't really move all that much. They don't. They're very different as far as how everything flows. I mean, versus boas, of course, boas are live bearers. Where ball pythons lay eggs, right? That's the first big difference, and that's what I learned in this book. I remember reading in that book, like, this is the difference between a boa and a python. Generally, boas lay live, and pythons lay eggs. And it's just the basics like that a lot of people don't even know.
Right.
So I felt like I needed to have a good understanding of that, and I got it years ago, and I brought it with me now, and it's helped me a lot. But that I guess that experience that I had before really helped me kind of jump back in without needing a mentor. I guess because I had experience. Now,
Gotcha.
the first few snakes I bought, were from Justin and a couple other like big guys, so I had them kind of in my pocket that I could work with, because I had bought snakes from them. Because, dude, like 7, 8 years ago, when I first got back into this, and there were these big guys like Ozzy and just everybody and Justin, I was like, man, I don't want to just reach out to these guys and ask them questions about breeding and ask them questions about like husbandry and anything. Like, I feel like I need to purchase something before them until I'm enabled the right to ask them a question, right? Like, dude, you feel that way almost in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're reaching out there, you don't want to bother somebody that you haven't bought something from and just hope that everything goes smooth. And yeah, there are people that will answer your questions, but generally not. You know what I mean? So once I had bought a few snakes from those guys and then realized that I could ask them questions when I needed to, that's where the value came in. Did they mentor me? No, no. I never asked one of them, hey, will you coach me and guide me through this and help me? I never did that with anybody. Not for any particular reason. I do wish I had like a mentor or somebody that lived nearby me that could help me out, or whatever the situation. But I never had that. I've just kind of learned it all on my own. And I feel like it's gone very smoothly for me. I'll be honest with you, Mike. Like I haven't encountered any major issues. The stuff I've had to deal with as far as problems has been minor. I haven't had to deal with mites or any of that bullshit. Like I'm crazy about quarantining.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, man. Like I learned years ago, I had mites in my collection when I had boas. Like boas used to almost automatically come with mites when you bought them 25 years ago. That's kind of
Why
just
was
how it
that?
went. Like
Why
mites,
was
mites.
yeah? Why was that?
Why? Because, well,
Yeah.
first of all, a lot of them were imported.
Mm.
So a lot of the stuff you would buy at these local shows, a lot of it was imported, or the females were imported pregnant, and they would lay the eggs in the United States, or lay the eggs, or lay the live babies in the United States, and then they'd be sold at these shows. So a lot of the babies would pick up mites from the parents that had mites. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
so there were just mites everywhere back then, as far as boas that I remember. And I dealt with mites when I had snakes when I was in high school, and I said, and I remember when I got back into this 7 or 8 years ago, I said, I'm never going to let that happen again. I'm going to be a freak about how I control shit, about how I quarantine. And I am today. Like, if I buy a new snake, even if it's from Justin, even if it's from Ozzy, like, I don't care who it's from. I trust them. I'm 99% sure that those snakes are free and clear, but it's still
You
going
never know
into a
what can happen.
quarantine. 2 months, 2 months before it makes its way into my room. I have a separate room on a separate floor of the house. Like, they are on opposite ends of the house on purpose. I don't want that shit anywhere near each other. Um, and stuff can happen during shipping too, Mike.
Right.
Like, sometimes a snake will get real cold during shipping, and that could trigger the beginnings of a respiratory infection or something like that. So you get a snake in, and this has happened to a lot of people where their snake will get hung up a couple days in Indianapolis, like where shit always gets hung up, right? And
Yeah.
so their snake will get hung up in Indy for a couple days while it's cold. That snake makes it to you. The snake is alive. You put it in its quarantine rack, but then it develops an RI, and it's because it got cold and got sick, and it was in that dry climate in a box for a few days, and it just got sick, right?
Stress. Yeah.
It's happened, stress, so a lot of people don't realize that a snake could be perfectly healthy when that breeder snicks, like, ships to you, but by the time it reaches you, something may have gone wrong, and you have
Right.
to plan for that, and you have to plan accordingly for it. And so me, I put it into a quarantine rack for 2 months. Then it makes its way up into my room, and it stays in a quarantine rack on paper towels so I can see everything to
Everything is
ensure that
going
there's
on.
no mites, no bugs of any kind, nothing weird, no weird discharges coming out of the snake. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing funky happening, right?
Right.
So I leave it in there on paper towels so I can see everything for a couple months, make sure they're eating, make sure they're healthy, everything is good. Then they graduate up into the big room. That's how I kind of do it.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, I'm crazy about it, man. Like, there's too much at risk.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I'm surprised with people who order a snake on Morph Market. It comes to their house, they bring it home, unbag it, and throw it right into their rack, right with their entire collection that's worth $100,000. Like,
Yeah. No.
what? I
Yeah.
mean, that's I can't grasp it, because to me, that $100,000 and that whole collection of animals that you love and love looking at is all at risk as soon as you put that animal into that rack.
100%. 100%.
Did my
Do
video
you?
just cut out?
No, you
Oh,
good.
okay.
At least for me.
Okay. Sorry.
I do want to
My screen just
apologize
went
to.
black and it started like
Okay.
spinning.
I do want to apologize again to everybody in the comments. So normally we have comments that we can both see, and like I'll pop
Okay.
them up from time to time. But we're having
Yeah.
technical difficulties with the comments. I think it's because of the way I set up the video. I think I messed it up, and so we can't change it while we're live. So I can see that
So
people are
what, people are
commenting
leaving
on
comments
YouTube.
right now? You can see people commenting, but I can't, right?
No, I can't see it in the StreamYard studio,
Oh, you
but if
got
I
it
go
on
to
YouTube on the
YouTube, I
side.
can see the people
Gotcha.
commenting. Yeah, yeah. Because at
Gotcha.
first,
Gotcha.
at first I was like, man, it's people in the I can see there's people in the chat, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen one single comment. And then so I started
Gotcha.
clicking over
Gotcha.
there. I was like, yeah, I had it set up wrong. And so
Gotcha.
I got to
Gotcha.
change the
Gotcha.
setting on it, but you can't do it while you're live though. But yeah, people are commenting. A lot of people said, what's up? So shout out to everybody in the chat.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. I appreciate everyone who jumped in tonight.
for sure, for sure. So with the genetic testing and stuff, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, it's a sticky, hairy subject, dude. So, a lot of people have different views on it. I look at it both ways. I'll be honest. I feel like it provides a benefit, but I feel like it's given people a lot of shortcuts that they wouldn't have had naturally, right? Right now, when you buy a pos het animal, you're buying it as a pos het. You don't know if that thing is het pied or not, and it's priced that way, right? You're buying a snake that's 66% pos het pied, and instead of that snake being $4,000, it's $1,000 because it's pos het, right? The pos het game virtually is going to get
Yeah,
eliminated if everybody
gone.
starts testing everything. So now all those $1,000 snakes are all 4,000. Your opportunity to play the odds game, like, okay, so there's a gambling component to ball python breeding and snake breeding, right? And that is, you don't know how many males and females you're going to get. You don't know how many eggs you're going to get. You don't know how many eggs are going to hatch, and you don't know how many you're going to keep or what you're going to sell. There's a lot of variables that come into it, and it's like gambling. Like, I see it as like going to the casino, right? Like, it's luck. It's all luck. You don't know what's going to happen, and you can't control it either. You can't control the sex odds. You can't control the genes that are passed down. to a certain
Right.
extent. You can, if you're doing like, if you're dealing with supers or recessives, like you can kind of control what's going on, but you can't in general. And that's the allure of it to me. Like that's what excites me. Like that's what's exciting about having a clutch and not knowing what's in it until they hatch. Like you raise this girl for 2 or 3 years, you breed her, you get eggs, you stick them in the incubator. Like that's 3 to 4 years of pure excitement and waiting and anticipation, right? And a lot of that goes out the window with genetic testing, right? You lose that excitement. You lose you
At
lose
least
those
for the
odds
pause heads.
for the pos hets.
Yeah,
For the
because you
pos
still
hets.
got the
Now,
odds of the genetics at play, and you
yeah,
still
now
got the sex odds there, and the
the
number of
benefit,
eggs and all that stuff.
yeah, like I mean, there's pros and cons to it, but the benefit is learning what you might have in your own
Yeah, early.
collection or what you're going to be selling. Like if you're going to be selling something, say you have five babies in the clutch and they're all pos hets, right? And you get them all tested. Instead of selling them all as pos hets and making a lot less money, you're selling them all as het or not het, right?
Right.
Like now it's defined. And it's probably going to be maybe the same amount of money in the end because you have your animals that are not het, which you're going to get the lowest amount for, and the ones that tested out positive and that you're going to sell as a pos or as a 100% het, right?
Right.
That might wash out in the middle and still make you the same exact amount of money, but you're
Yeah.
going to know, and it's going to help you decide, hey, what should I keep? You
Right.
know, is this girl actually, is that pos het girl actually het? Because if she is, I'm keeping her, and that's where the benefit comes in. Um, so there's pros and cons to it. I was just talking to my buddy right before this call, Jeremy Baud, from Baud's Exotic Reptiles. We had this exact conversation about some stuff, related to genetic testing. He just had some pos het pied stuff hatch out. I just had some like 100% het DG pos het pied stuff. I want to know if those are double het DG pied.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's a
mean? Like,
benefit to
because
knowing.
it's a big difference between just being het DG, but being guaranteed het DG and het pied.
Right.
And when you have a bunch of other genes in the mix too, then that makes them valuable snakes. If you know that they are double het. So we were talking about like how we're going to be sending in these sheds that we're collecting right now from these clutches we just hatched to see if the stuff is actually het pied or not, because that's going to provide value to us to know what to keep, what to sell, and what to value the animals at that we sell. Right. So it
Right.
brings in a lot of information that you wouldn't have normally had, but it also allows you to shortcut and leapfrog on pos het kind of stuff,
Right.
which is good and bad. It
Yeah.
could help you. I guess with a lot of the pos hets where you could have, bought a 66% pos het and gotten some other genes in it on a recessive project and gotten it for a lot less money, that kind of disappears. You know what I mean? It's risky
Right.
to buy pos hets in the first place, right? Like you're
Yeah, because you
taking
never
that
know
big,
if it's going to
you're
prove
taking,
out. Like,
dude, it's risky to buy hets in the first place nowadays because you don't even know if the person you're buying from is 100% legit and if they're 100% het. You know what I mean? But as long as you're dealing with someone or dealing with somebody who's responsible or big in the game and has been in a long time, then you're good.
right.
If you're buying a pos het from Justin, or if you're buying a het from Justin, that it's het.
It's a
If you're
head.
buying a
Yeah.
het from Ozzy, it's a het. It's
Right.
guaranteed because their
Or even
reputation is not
exactly.
worth the risk. But for a
And even
little guy,
somebody exactly like even somebody
yeah,
not necessarily as big as them, if you can look and and that goes back to like the whole social media discussion. If you can go back and you can see the things they're posting on social media, you can see they're investing in their brand, investing
oh
in their
yeah,
company, then they
oh
give
yeah,
you a little bit more
comfort,
confidence to purchase from.
definitely,
But yeah,
absolutely,
it's
yeah.
definitely risky.
It's risky. It's risky, and there are people that are getting out, but they haven't told anyone they're getting out, and they post all this shit on Morph Market, and it's all het this and het that, and then they disappear off the face of the earth. And guess what? None of that shit was het for anything. That happens all the time.
That for nothing.
Het for nothing. Het for nothing. It happens a lot. So, people. Here's a piece of advice that I give to people that is, especially if they're new, you know, and they're saying, hey, how do I turn this ball python hobby of mine into a business? What do I do? What's the difference? What's the big change I make? The answer is easy for me, Mike. You chase good genes and you chase good snakes. You don't chase good deals. That's what you don't
True.
do in this game. If you want to do it right, you got to chase the best genes you can find, the best examples of those genes. If you love cypress, Go find the best fucking cypress you can buy. And it doesn't matter what it costs because you're going to make that money back and then some because you bought the best one that's out there. Right. So people that are chasing deals and they're like, hey, okay, I'm going to buy this cypress het clown. It's an okay cypress and it's cheap. And when I hear that, I'm instantly like, God, man, I don't like people that chase cheap deals. I like people that chase nice animals. And that's what I think is the difference between a hobby and a breeder who's trying to turn it into a legit business. You have to invest. You have to put that money in up front. And a lot of people, you don't have to have a lot of money, right? But when you're trying to decide between a $500 het, and a $1,000 visual, you buy that visual all day if you can spend that extra $500 because that visual is going to return so much more for you in the future. And that's a lot of people say, hey, but I can get this het and it's only $200 and it's got pastel in it too. Well, yeah, it's $200 because it's got pastel in it and it's a hat. You know what I mean? So, and it's hard not to upset people or piss them off when they come to you and say, hey, but I bought this and this and this. Were these good investments? Like, I think they are. And if they're not, it's hard for you to be dead upfront honest, but I will be. Like, if you come to me and ask me, and this is the thing I think that people appreciate about me, Mike, is I'm going to give it to you straight every time, like it or not. Like if you buy some, like, dude, I'm a straight shooter. I will tell you that snake looks like shit if it does. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how I feel. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because you're my friend. You know what I mean? If you make a badass snake that's beautiful, I'm going to tell you that. If you make an average snake that's average, I'm going to say, it's okay. It's pretty nice, but I'm not gonna say, yes, that's a beautiful snake. I love it. If I don't, I will not do that because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to try and make somebody feel better for something that might not be great. So I tell them, hey, price it accordingly, and circling back, chase the badass snakes, not the good deals. That's where people make mistakes. And they're like, but I got these 3 snakes and I got them all for $1,000. Well, yeah, dude, you got them all for $1,000 because look at them. Look at them. Look at the quality. Like, look at the quality,
Right.
And so that's how I shop for snakes when I'm looking to buy from something or from someone, And if somebody says like, this snake is a red stripe, yellow belly, black pastel het clown, if I can't see that red stripe, if it's a pos red stripe, but if I can't see it myself, I'm not buying it. No way am I buying that snake. Like, I can't take that risk. I need to see it. I need to be sure that it's there. I need to be very clear on that because I want the babies to be very clear on what is inside them too.
Exactly.
So it's hard, and it's hard with certain genes that are low expression and high expression where you can't exactly tell what's there. And there's a lot of those genes where you look at it and go, God, is it even in there? You know what I mean? Is like someone will say, hey, this is a lace. And you look at it and go, really? Like, where's the lace? It's hard to see. And there's some genes that by nature are hard to ID, right?
Yeah.
Lace is one of them. You have these great examples of lace. You have other laces that you're like, man, that almost looks normal to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
It's hard to tell on certain genes. And that's why I tell people chase the quality. Chase the quality, not the good deal. And that is a recipe for success for me. You know what I mean? And I think it's a recipe for success for anybody who's trying to turn it into a business versus a hobby.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're doing it for fun and keeping them for pets, as long as you love it and as long as you love the way it looks, that's all that matters. But when you're buying a snake as an investment, you have to think, what do you want my babies to look like? I want these babies to look badass, top of the line, and I want these genes to be fucking popping out. Right? And you do that by buying high expression, top of the line animals. They're going to cost you more. You're going to pay more for them, right? But in the end,
in the long run.
It's going to be worth it because you're going to be producing those babies that everybody wants to buy.
Right.
And that's the difference. So I tell people that a lot. Don't chase the deals, chase the animals, chase the quality.
So what projects are you working on right now? Like, what's your primary focus?
DG Clown. That's my primary focus. I mean, it's pretty simple for me. I don't have a lot of other stuff. I don't have a lot of pieds. I don't have a lot of other recessive projects. I have a few, like I have Paint and Sentinel. I love that project. I think it's really badass. I think it has a lot of potential. I get excited about it.
I've been seeing a lot of Paint stuff lately.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and paint was one of these genes that everyone thought was like a codom until just a couple years ago, until people kind of discovered that it actually was recessive, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of these genes that people are still learning about, but desert ghost, clown, I do have some pied stuff. I have a lot of clown, I have a lot of DG. And
Okay.
when I started investing, which was like 2016, I would say. Um, the first kind of stuff I started investing in was DG stuff because I was
Okay.
looking at it and I was going, my God. And this was before it was like crazy, right? Like it is now. Like I was looking at DG just going, man, that shit is so bright and clean. And it seems like if you get pastel in it, it gets even cleaner and brighter. And certain genes make it just like crazy. And so I kind of saw what other people were seeing, but a lot of people were unsure. There were a lot of genes to invest in. There was a lot of codons, a lot of recessives, and Desert Ghost was just another one. And Desert Ghost had this weird like stigma attached to it because of the desert
Because of the
gene.
desert gene. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you got these old school guys that are in the game that are coming back after leaving for 10 or 15 years. They're coming back and they're like, why would you buy a desert ghost? Like that shit can't reproduce, and they don't they instantly assume that desert and desert ghost are the same thing, where
Yeah.
obviously they're not. But desert kind of scared some people, or desert ghost kind of scared some people away just because of its name, which sucks. Like I wish like desert is good for the desert gene. Like desert ghost complicates things for people who are messing with desert ghost a lot, right?
Right.
So I think it had that stigma attached to it. But I started buying um like double hets because in my mind, like I'll be honest, I saw Levance. Levance posted and Levance is in Chicago here, right? So he's
Yeah.
local. So Levance had posted a DG clown like 5 years ago on Facebook, or 6 years ago. I think it was like 2016, maybe around there. And I saw that thing and was like, what the fuck? Like this is like and it like blew my mind. Like it was the nicest snake I'd ever seen. Like I couldn't believe it. It was two recesses, which I was like trying to wrap my head around, and it was this bright, crazy, and it was an adult. So he posted this adult clown that wasn't brown. And I was like, what is this? So I learned quickly that that's what I wanted to try doing, because I was like, okay, because the problem with clowns was that they browned out, right? Or
Yeah.
especially if you had pastel in them or something, and they just like over time they lost their that color, right? And
Right.
with DG, it kind of held it, and it actually got brighter as they aged. And I was like, all right. So I started buying like double head DG clowns 5 and 6 years ago. Um,
Oh,
and they were
nice.
cheap. Dude, they were cheap back then. You know what I mean? Like a normal double head DG clown, I paid $300 for back in the
Male or
day.
female?
Females. For
Wow.
females, yeah.
Yeah.
So I bought a few like straight double head DG clown girls with no other genes in them. Then in like 2018, 2019, as more people started producing more combos and more hets, I started buying them with other genes in the mix. But they were
Gotcha.
expensive at that point. Like they weren't $300 anymore. They were 3 grand. You know, like suddenly there was this huge leap that took place with Desert Ghost and Clown and all these other genes, and the price went crazy. And so like in 2018, I bought two or three double het DG clown girls with other genes. Like I bought a spot nose double het DG clown. I bought a black pastel double het DG clown. I bought a Mojave double het DG clown. And they were all like 3 grand or 2,500 bucks a piece. And I was like, I couldn't believe the amount of money that I was spending on these double hets, right? But I knew in the long term it was going to probably be pretty good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so here I am now, like years and years later, and I just hit my first DG clown. Like I made my own.
Oh, nice. Nice. You hit a male or female?
Female. So I made
Nice.
a female DG clown about 2 weeks ago. She hatched. It was from a DG het clown to a double het. Like so, one of
Gotcha.
those original double het girls that I bought like 5 years ago finally went for me, and I got one DG clown in the clutch, and then one DG 66% het clown, and then a bunch
Okay.
of like hets and a couple pass hets. So super excited about that, but that's my main project focus. I started buying other hets from people with other genes because I wanted to make black pastel DG clowns and spot nose DG clowns. This dude in Indonesia, David Suarez, put a picture
I feel
on
like I heard the
Facebook.
name before.
Dude, he put a picture like 4 years ago on Facebook of a spot nose desert ghost clown, and that changed everything for me. Like I was like, okay, that is like the craziest shit I've seen in my life. Like I have to make this. You know what I mean? So I bought the ingredients to make it. I bought the girl, I bought a spot nose doublehead DG clown, and waited a couple years. And about 2 years ago, I bought a visual desert ghost clown. Like, it was the most money I ever put into this whole everything, and it was terrifying. Like, a male DG clown is expensive, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, and a couple
absolutely.
years ago, and dude, I was on waiting lists to
And
get a
still,
male. I was on a waiting list to get a male DG clown, just not with any other genes in it, just like a straight male. I was on a list from Justin. I was on a list from Justin for almost 2 years and was never able to get one. I was on a list with like 3 or 4 people, and finally somebody called me like 2 years ago and said, "Hey, I've got one," and I was like, "Oh my God, the timing is perfect." Like, all these doublehead DG clown girls I'd been raising were about ready. So I bought this DG clown like a year and a half ago. He bred for me this past season, and
nice.
yeah, so I put him to a handful of stuff.
So
Some
did
of
you
those
put him to that
girls,
spot nose though? Head?
not the spot nose, she didn't go, but
Okay,
the black pastel did. So the
okay,
black pastel doublehead DG clown went, and then 2 of the normal doublehead DG clowns went. So I have
okay.
3 clutches this year where I can make DG clowns.
Oh, nice.
One of them being the black pastel, where I can make like a black pastel, and I'm praying. Like, I mean, that just the thought of it gets me excited, man, because that's where my whole vision started with this stuff. When I started putting in money, was DG clowns, and now everybody's doing DG clown, right? Like, it's everywhere. It's
But I feel like it's still so much to do with DG Clown because
there is, but so many people are in the project now that it doesn't have the same. Like, you're going to see a lot of DG clowns on Morph Market this year, like this season, like starting now, really. And there's actually a few on there right now. Whereas a couple years ago, when you would see a DG clown pop up on Morph Market, it would be gone in minutes. You know, Now there's some choices. Like, there's some people that are making DG clowns and combos, and they're super expensive, but they're available. You know what I
right.
mean? People have some choices now, so it's not as, I guess, a small group that's working on it like it used to be. Now it's kind of big and everywhere, but that's ball pythons in general. Like,
Right.
everybody's playing with everything, and so that's my main focus. I do have hypo in the mix now, so I have hypo DGs also, and I
Okay.
basically want to do the hypo DG clown thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I have a hypo DG male, I have a DG clown male, and I'm using them both to make lots of hats with all these girls that I had bought years ago. I'm making double hats and just trying to set myself up. Basically, I'm at the point where I decided this year, Mike, that I wasn't going to make animals to sell. I did that the last couple years, and I realized that I didn't like the approach, because what I wasn't doing was making enough animals for me to keep for
Gotcha.
myself. Here's the bottom line: I'm sick of buying from other people,
Yeah, you got
right?
to be your first customer.
Dude, so I'm trying to make my stuff now for me. Like, this year I said, I'm making all these double head DG clowns. I'm going to make all these double head DG hypos. I'm going to just do whatever I can to set myself up. It kind of hasn't worked out great. I'll be honest with you. Like, I got so many boys this year that these plans of making all these double head DG clowns and hypo DGs, I still have made some, but not. I am not being able to make the choices I would have been able to make if I had a lot more girls available. I
Gotcha.
mean, I've hatched, I think, about 30 snakes so far in the last month. Like, my
Oh,
season just kind of started hatching like about a month ago, and I've hatched about maybe 30 snakes, and of the 30, 23 of them have been males, 7
oh,
girls
wow.
total across 5
Wow.
clutches or 4 clutches. So I still have a bunch in the incubator, and they're bigger clutches and better odds. So, not in terms of sex, but in terms of genes. But
Right.
yeah, I'm excited about the stuff that's in the incubator now. I have some stuff that just hatched out over the past couple weeks. I think I reached out to you. So,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
so Mike bought a trick het clown from me, and a couple weeks ago, I hatched a clutch of trick clowns from the same father that produced Mike's boy that he bought from me. So I reached out to Mike. I said, "Hey, Mike, I hashed out something here. I think it might interest you." And that's what I like to do to people that I've worked with or talked to or developed a relationship with. Like, I knew he was in the trick game. I knew he wanted to make trick clowns because he bought one from me. And I just hatched a bunch of trick clowns, Trojan trick clowns. It was a Trojan trick clutch. So I got a Trojan clown and a few trick clowns, and nobody had seen them yet. Like maybe 2 people have. I think like Dorian
Yeah,
and
because I
probably
know at the time you
Jeremy.
said you hadn't posted them.
I hadn't posted them. Like, no, I don't. I think I posted them maybe in one of the Discords, but I don't think I posted them
Okay.
on Instagram yet. Or maybe I
Okay.
posted one picture of one of them,
Yeah, because I know you're like
like
for your eyes only.
right out of the egg. Yeah, like I didn't want. Yeah, I said for your eyes only because I didn't want it getting out there really, because they hadn't even shed yet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't like the pre-shed pics, and all that. Like I like it to shed and eat and get a little color in it before I start really showing it. And but I showed you the whole clutch, right? I think I showed you a whole clutch picture
Yeah.
that had 3 trick clowns in it and a Trojan clown, and then I got a Trojan trick het clown female and another trick het clown. So I showed it to Mike. I said, "Hey, dude, you just bought this from me. I thought you might like to see this." And I sent him the picture of the clutch, and he was like, "Oh my god, man, this is crazy! Like, thanks for showing it to me." But that's what I like to do with people that I've developed relationships with. Like, I like to, uh, show them stuff that I think they might be interested in if I have it, or show them like I was showing Mike because basically I was showing him, hey, this is the shit that your boy's gonna be able to make for you right here. Like it's the same father that produced these babies that produced the boy that Mike bought, and when Mike breeds his boy, it's gonna make trick
Girl,
clowns that look just like this. Or did you get the girl?
yeah, I got the
Oh,
girl.
that's right, you got a
Yeah,
girl. Oh
yeah.
man, so when she's ready for you, yeah.
The one that
I
we was
mean,
thinking maybe has Trojan.
I think it might, dude. I think that thing might have Trojan in it. Like I think it's Trojan is hard to see in some snakes, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it just pops out at you and it's big and bright. Sometimes it's kind of low expression. And I
So there's
think
a faint
I
yellow
think that that
line
I think that thing has
down the
Trojan in
belly.
it, man. I truly do. I can't guarantee it, so I didn't sell it that way. I sold it as
Right.
just a trick, but after I sold it to him. So after I sold it to him and I was getting it ready to ship to him, I said, Mike, by the way, this thing might be Trojan. And he's like, really? What do you mean? I'm like, dude, I think this thing is Trojan. Like, you're gonna have to prove it out yourself, obviously, but it has a different color to it. Like it's a little brighter. It's really beautiful. Like I think this thing is Trojan,
Because that's
and
what stood out
it'll
to
be
me
up
when
to
I
you.
saw it.
It'll be up to you to prove it out. But I
That's
didn't
what
sell
stood
it as
out to me.
Trojan. Yeah, I didn't mention Trojan in the ad on Morph Market. Like
Right.
I'm not gonna do that. But
Because I
if
was
it
like,
proves
man,
out
this
to
is the
be
best
Trojan, I hope
example
it
I've ever
does.
seen.
Like, dude, I would love it to prove out Trojan for you because then you got it for a great price. And you're able to make really nice babies with it. Like that's what I hope happens for you. Like I do hope it is Trojan. I truly do because I feel like you know, I connected with you right off the bat. I liked you. I sold you this snake as a trick head clown. And if it has Trojan in it, awesome for you. Like I'm
Yeah.
excited for you if it is. And I
Appreciate
think
that.
I think it is. I truly do, man. I hope it does. But
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, man, this is an amazing example of a trick head clown. Because
yeah.
it was just popping. And
Yep.
so, and then when you told me that, I was like, well, maybe that's it. It's
It
really,
very well
really
could be.
nice.
And
Really nice.
you'll know once she lays, and once those babies hatch, I'm sure you're gonna reach out to me and say, what do I
Oh,
have
yeah.
here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I hope I could say, hey man, we're looking at Trojans in that clutch. I hope. That would be a nice bonus for you for sure,
Yeah,
man.
for
Definitely.
sure.
Yep.
Definitely. So you going to Tinley in October?
I'm vending Tinley in October.
Oh, word. Nice.
Yeah, I didn't know it until a couple weeks ago either. It just kind of
Okay.
fell into my lap recently. And I'm excited, it's going to be the first show that I'm like vending. Like, so when I was in this game years and years ago, when I was still in high school, I actually used to go to a little local show here in Illinois that used to be in Streamwood, Illinois. It was called the
Mhm.
Lee Watson's Reptile Swap, and it was in like this
Okay.
barn. And this guy's he had a farm, and he had this barn, and he would set up a bunch of tables and rent them out to people, and you could buy and sell shit, anything. Like back then, it was like the Wild West. Like you could buy dogs and cats and like monkeys and like like just
It's a
weird.
whole animal expo.
Yeah, dude, it was kind of crazy, but it was fun, and I had rented a couple tables when I was a kid and sold stuff off my tables at one point. You know what I mean? Um, so this is going to be my first time like vending a show since I was a teenager. You know what I mean? And it's going to be at Tinley in October. So I'm super excited, and I've been on a wait list to get a table at Tinley for like a year now, and I didn't get one through my wait list that I was on. I got one because a friend of mine that lives in the Chicagoland area, he bought like 3 or 4 tables and he's been doing Tinley since Tinley started. He gets
Okay.
like 3 or 4 tables for every show. His name's Rick Schlosser. He's local here in Chicago.
Okay.
And Rick basically has been doing NARBC since NARBC started. And he got,
What's the name of
oh,
his company?
I think it's RCS Reptiles. I don't recall offhand what he calls his business. Hold
Okay.
on, I'm gonna find it real quick. I feel like I have to.
Yeah, I was about to do the same thing. I was about to pull up Morph Market while you was talking and see if I can find it.
Yep. I'm trying to remember the name of business. I think it's like RCS Reptiles or something like that. It's initials. It's 3 initials. I don't see him on Instagram. He's on Facebook. I don't know if it has his business info on here. Hold on one sec. Nope, it doesn't. Hold on. Can't find it. It's crazy. Well, I am not finding his business name, but I think it's RCS. Or
Okay.
you can find it on Morph Market. Yeah. But his name's Rick Schlosser, and I met him a few years ago and or a couple years ago, I would say. And, we're kind of the same age, I think, and we have kind of stuff in common, you know what I mean? And we just, he reached out to me and said, hey, actually was at Schaumburg at the Schaumburg NARBC show. He stopped me and was like, "Hey, man, a friend of mine might not be using a table that I have reserved. If he doesn't, do you want it?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course."
Yeah. Hell
But I,
yeah.
I was just saying yes. Like at that point, I had no babies, I had no inventory, I had nothing, and this was like a few months ago. And I was like, this probably won't happen. And then suddenly it happened. So now I'm like scrambling to buy a sign for behind the table and to buy all the displays, like all the shit I need to like vend the show, and I'm trying to do it quickly. You know what I mean? But I'm super excited because it's Tinley, it's October, it's a local show for me. It's an hour from my house. Like, everything about it is easy. I live about an hour from Tinley. So there's not a lot that I have to worry about. I'm not driving across the country with,
Right.
all these crazy snakes. Like I'm driving an hour away and setting up. So I'm super excited. Um,
Okay.
I'm finding Rick right now. Hold on, I need to.
So where'd you get all your show gear from? Like your equipment, like your display cases and all that stuff.
RJS Reptiles. That's what he goes by. RJS.
RJS Reptiles. Okay.
RJS
I'll have to check
Reptiles.
them
Rick
out.
Schlosser. Yeah, and he's in Oakland, Illinois, so he's kind of local to me. It's like an hour away, and he's good friends with Brian Potter. So I guess he's been like doing NARBC since the beginning, And he basically said, "Hey, this table's available. Do you want it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And he told me how much it cost, and I said, "Sure, no problem." And now I'm suddenly vending Tinley in October, so it's kind of scary
Nice.
and kind of exciting.
That's
Like
dope though.
I'm super excited, man. Like I can't
Yeah,
wait.
I'll definitely be looking for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And I have inventory, I have babies. I have a lot of babies right now. And the timing of it all really kind of fell into place for me where I have a whole bunch of animals right now that are just eating their first and second meals that are going to be perfectly ready to go by the time Tinley hits in 6 weeks from now. So
Nice.
I'm not listing anything on Morph Market, which might be a mistake because I want to kind of bring everything to Tinley and have it all on my table since it's my
Gotcha.
first time vending, and I want it to look impressive. I want to have a nice spread. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to sell all my
That
shit
makes
on
sense.
Morph Market before going to Tinley. So you know what? It might be a mistake because I might be able to sell snakes now. You know what I mean? But it's not. To me, it's not that important. Like to me, it's more important to do the Tinley show and to do the
Yeah,
network and to
absolutely.
be set up
Absolutely.
and like that. That's what it's all about to me. So hopefully, I sell some snakes at Tinley, but it's not about that for me. It's about everything else, quite honestly. Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
I'm
I'm
looking
super
forward to it.
excited. I'm looking at different companies for the signs. I'm looking at Vistaprint. I'm looking at a couple others that a couple friends told me about. I reached out to a couple people who I've seen their signs at shows and they kind of stick out. They're nice. They look clean. They look a little higher end. And so I've reached out to them and said, "Who did you use?" So I'm getting a lot of feedback. Um, there's a lot of companies that do it, and they're expensive. Those signs are expensive, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do it right. It's not cheap.
Not at
Um,
all. Not at all. Not for good quality stuff.
No, man, and I'm lucky in that I have another buddy that lives local that's letting me borrow all of his ARS display cages.
Oh, that's
So
that's nice.
so I don't have to run out and buy those right now either, which is nice because again, this all just kind of recently happened. So
That's nice.
and there's been, you can't really get like ARS, they've been out of display cases since COVID hit. They just got them back into stock like a month or 6 weeks ago.
Oh, for
So
real?
everyone's been kind of scooping them up because they're suddenly available again. And I was about to do the same, but I had a buddy that's letting me use his. So I don't have to buy the displays, but I have to buy all the signage, the tablecloth, the lights, like all that shit, but it's still a lot of money. It's a lot. The table itself is pretty expensive, but
Have you
I don't
saw
care what it costs. Like again, like I'm so excited to do it. Like I'll just make it happen no matter what.
have you saw the next level displays, the ones with like the heat tape built in and you
Yeah,
got the herp stat in the
they're
back?
real nice.
Yeah, those are real nice.
They're real nice, but they're expensive and they're heavy.
Yeah,
They're both of those things. They're expensive and
I
heavy,
never
but
picked them up. They are heavy,
they're heavy.
which
They're
I would
super
imagine that
heavy.
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're super heavy. They are expensive, but I think they're worth the cost. I think they're worth that expense. I think they cost like probably $800 a piece, and you get
Something
3 or
like that.
4 of them, thousands of dollars. But yeah, I might do something like that. I might just go with the ARS ones, because they're back in stock and you can do your own lighting with those and they're a little lighter so I'm not sure. I called ARS today, as a matter of fact. I talked to them this morning and checking to see what they had in stock and what was available, how long it took to ship. I asked them if I could order and pick up displays at Tinley and avoid the shipping costs, and they said yeah, that they could do
Oh,
that.
nice,
I
nice.
might do that, and
How
maybe not.
much are the ARS ones?
The ARS are $500 for 3 levels
Three
without
levels.
a
Okay,
case, without no ca with that's with nothing. That's just the actual, like, display acrylic. You know what I
okay,
mean? And you get 3 levels of those, and you can get 5 slots, 4 slots, or 3 slots in each level.
okay.
You know what I mean? So I'm gonna get the 5 slot one so you can get more, babies in there basically.
Right.
Um, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna order them now or if I'm gonna wait. You know what I mean? I want my snakes to pay for that stuff. You know what I mean? And all the snakes, I haven't really sold any snakes this season yet. So once that snake money comes in, I'm gonna start buying. I'll buy all those ARS displays. So for the next show, I'm prepared with my own stuff. But I
Right.
want my snake money to buy my racks, to buy my all my infrastructure items. You know what I mean? All the
Right.
racks, incubator, all that. I want it to come from the snakes, and I've generally been able to do that up to this point.
Gotcha.
Um, so that I can invest more money into the snakes themselves, and buying higher
Absolutely.
end snakes. Yep. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Tinley. It'll be my first time coming, so
Oh,
I'm
really?
definitely looking forward to it. Yeah,
So
we're supposed to get
Florida, right?
there like Friday. Say again?
You're in Florida?
Yeah, Florida.
Okay.
It
Whereabouts?
was Gainesville, Florida. So
Gainesville? Okay.
yeah, are you familiar with Florida geography? So it's like north central Florida.
Yeah, kinda. I have family that lives down like South Florida. My sister and her husband just moved to Tampa.
So we're
Um,
about 2 hours away from Tampa.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
I like Tampa. I like that area. We went out there for Thanksgiving and I
that's where you
loved
met
it.
Jeremy, right?
Yeah, that's where I connected with Jeremy. We connected on Thanksgiving Day morning and I went to his house. We cut a clutch and built a relationship. It was cool. Like we didn't even know each other. Like I just reached out to him and like I knew him through a Discord group that we were in together and like a Patreon thing and
On
um
Will's Patreon.
on Will's, yeah, on Will's
Yeah.
Patreon. And we had kind of like casually chatted through the Discord, but I'd never met him, I'd never spoken to him, and I knew I was going to Florida and I just said, "Hey dude, I'm gonna be in Florida next week. What do you got going on? Maybe I'll swing by." And he was like, "Yeah, man, come by." And so I got to his house, I met him, and it was like I instantly felt a connection with him. Like, I just felt like we had a lot in common. I felt like he was a good guy. And within 2 minutes of
And
meeting him and his
hilarious
wife,
too.
and he's funny, like he's cool too. I like him. I like his style. He's real chill. Him and I got stuff in common. We both did a lot of the same crazy shit when we were young, and we both have but we both got our shit on track, and we're both doing good now. And I like him a lot. He's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine. I talk to him very often. Um, he's a good dude, and I know he's down there in Florida by you. He told me he met you at the show a couple weeks
At
ago.
Daytona, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he's a real good guy. Yep, I like him a lot.
yeah. I had fun at Daytona too, and I had fun meeting people because there was a lot of people who I had been talking to online like for months, maybe
Yep.
even over months, like maybe over a year, who I hadn't even met in person yet. And so that was cool meeting a lot of people in person, and I meet a bunch more
Yeah,
people when we go to
I
Tinley.
had never even like really seen Jeremy. Like I saw him in a couple of his videos, but suddenly I'm at his house, and it was cool. Like we instantly connected, and he's a really good dude. And I talk to him all the time now. I've connected with a lot of the guys in Will's Discord. Quite honestly, I talk to Dorian almost every single day.
Yeah, Dorian cool
From
too, and
Dorian from the
he
Royal
had
Club.
some dope
He's
stuff too.
crazy. Like I
Yeah,
love Dorian
funny
because
as
he's
hell too.
crazy. Dorian reminds me of me because you know what it is? He doesn't sugarcoat shit. He gives it to you straight. There's no bullshit attached to it. Like, and that's how it is. And that's what I like about him. We can have these very open conversations where we talk shit or we talk good about whatever in the industry, and we're on the same page with it. So I appreciate the conversations with him. And I talk to him almost every day, because he's a good person too. I
Like
like
the
him as a person. He's a good guy, and
yeah,
that's
he's
important to me
cool.
too.
Like the
Yeah,
weeks
like
that I get to log in on the weekly Zoom call. Usually
yeah,
I have it like on mute or whatever and have my camera off because I'm listening because it's feeding day, and so like I'll be feeding like snakes in the background but listening to everybody. Like Dorian always
yeah,
got some jokes and some funny
yep.
stuff to say.
He's crazy. Dorian's funny, and the thing that makes Dorian funny is that he gives it to you straight. That's like me. Like I'm not. I give it to you straight. Good or bad, and so we have good conversations because we're on the same page. You know
We
what I
had
mean?
some
And he's a
dope
good
stuff
dude.
too.
Like I love him. He's funny. He's crazy, and he reminds me of. He reminds me of one of my oldest, closest friends who kind of moved away. And Dorian reminds me a lot of him. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
when I talk to Dorian, I feel like I'm talking to this friend that I grew up with. You know what I mean? So I have
That's
that
what's up.
thing too. Yep.
That's
Yep.
what's
Yep.
up.
Yep.
Cool. All right, bro. So before I let you get out of here and enjoy the rest of your night, I got a few random questions for you. So if you could live anywhere in the world, and I know the answer is not Illinois,
Right.
where would it be and why?
Man, that's a good one. Like I haven't had this question on a reptile show. I like it. Um, where could I live? Anywhere in the world? I probably haven't been there yet. I'll be honest. Like I want to do a lot of traveling, but if I had to choose now, like, dude, I love Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, man. I do. I
Oh,
like Cancun also. Like I like Mexico. I like going to Mexico. I'm a beach guy.
nice,
Like if I
nice,
had to stay in the United States, it would probably be Florida or somewhere that's near a beach and palm trees. Like that's what I'm all about. That's my happy place. Put me on
nice.
a beach and I can just decompress and unwind and chill, and just do nothing. Like that's what I enjoy doing. So I'd probably be in Mexico or southern Florida, somewhere near a
Nice.
beach for sure, man. Somewhere warm.
Right near the beach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Definitely. Yep.
Definitely somewhere you ain't got to worry about the freezing cold all the time.
Yeah. I just want to get away from the cold,
All right. So if you could have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Ooh, another good one. I like it. Wow. Three people dead or alive. Okay. Um, my first is going to be Cliff Burton. He was the bass player from Metallica who died in a bus crash in I think 1985, if I'm not mistaken. And I play the bass, so I'm a musician. I'm a metal
Okay,
guy.
word.
Yeah, I'm a bass player. So I played the bass guitar for 25 years, in and out of bands my whole life. Um, I love it, man. I love rock. I love metal. I love classic rock. I love funk. I love old like Stevie Wonder, P Funk, like all the old school shit. Like anything with a heavy bass line, I love it, man. And if I
Oh,
can
nice.
play it, I love it even more. So Cliff was one of my inspirations when I was young. He
Mhm.
died before he got to kind of shine, and he's a hero of mine, So, and there's not a lot of footage of him. There's not a lot of interviews of him. There's not a lot of conversations with him, and he's one of the greatest bass players that ever walked this fucking planet. So, if I could meet and talk with somebody, he would definitely be one of them.
What's the first question you asking?
The first question I asked him,
You would
oh,
ask
I
him,
would I
yeah.
would ask him about technical stuff about the bass. Like I would ask him. My first question would, how did you learn to be so? Because he was self-taught. You know what I mean? And what I've always been curious about was how did he learn to be as good as he became? Honestly, like what inspiration did he have? Who inspired him to be a bass player? That's
Gotcha.
what I would want to know. And I would focus everything around the bass guitar and the style and why he did what he's doing. And
Nice.
Metallica hasn't been the same since he died, by the way. That band kind of died with him, is the way that I see Metallica, quite honestly. Um,
Gotcha.
but he would be one of them. Arnold Schwarzenegger would be another one.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so that would be another one. And why? Because he's a childhood hero of mine. Like I grew up with Predator and Commando and Terminator and
Terminator.
dude, like all that shit back in the day to me, like he was the coolest, baddest motherfucker out there. And he was huge and he was strong and he was a stud. And I was just like, this guy has got everything. Like he's a movie star, he's a bodybuilder, he looks cool, he acts cool, he's crazy, he kind of doesn't give a shit. And I like everything about him. He's funny, and I've always been a fan of Arnold. ever since I was a little kid. I would love to sit down and talk with him and pick his brain about his life, because he's had a crazy life, and I've read about him, and he was a childhood hero of mine, and he's still somebody that's very inspirational to me, even though he's gone into politics and really changed what he does in life. I still have this childhood envy for him. I used to look up to him and be like, man, I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to be that big and that strong, and I want to be a movie star, but I was a kid, you know what I mean?
Right.
But he would definitely be one. A third, would probably be my grandmother. I'll be honest with you, man, because I didn't really get to know her.
Okay.
She died when I was real young. I remember bits and pieces of her. I remember
Mhm.
her holding me in her lap and singing to me, when I was a little kid, but I never really got to know her. So if I could go back in time and sit with her and meet her and kind of learn about her, and that would be really cool and important to me, because I didn't get that opportunity. So that would be someone that I would like to meet and speak to and have
That'd be
dinner with,
dope.
man, for sure.
That'd be
Yep,
dope.
yep, yep.
All right. And so you get a check for $10 million tomorrow. How are you using
Wow.
it?
So I'm using it smart. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going crazy. I'm traveling, first of all, so I'm quitting my job tomorrow, of course. And actually, I'm not even telling them. I'm just not
You're just
going
gonna
to
be
work
out.
tomorrow. I'm not calling. No, I'm
No
not
two
telling them.
weeks
I'm just
notice.
out forever. I'm just disappearing. But no, I stopped going to work tomorrow. That's the first thing I do, and then
Okay.
I travel. Like, dude, I'll travel the world. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to see places I haven't seen. And then I'm going to set my whole family up. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure every single direct family member tied to me is set, doesn't have shit to worry about for the rest of their life, and just live out a nice, comfortable life, chilling, playing my bass, fucking with snakes, and drinking margaritas on a beach somewhere. That would
Nice.
be my ideal setup. Yeah, it would be somewhere warm, that's for sure. And I'd have a big ass building. I'd have a big ass building. Oh yes. That's what I would do. That's what I
That
would do.
sounds like a great time, bro.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So what's one question you wish I would have asked you, and then how would you have answered that question?
And there it is, the tough one. So the one question you wished I would have asked you, or you would have asked me, um, I guess hobbies and interests. That
Okay.
aren't related to snakes. Like, maybe that would be a good question for you to bring on to people in the future. Like, hey, aside from snakes and everything you do, tell me about you. Tell me about something you love and do. Tell me about a passion of yours that's not snakes.
Duly
I
noted.
think
That's a
that's
good
a good.
question.
It's a
That's
good
that's
question, and I think
yeah.
if you ask me about my hobbies, I would tell you, I got a lot of them. I play the bass guitar. That's the other thing I do. That's a huge hobby on top of the snakes. And I like to keep busy. I like to keep moving. I like to keep active. I don't like to sit on the couch and watch TV. That's not me. I'm high energy. I'm high strung, and I'm jacked up all the time, man. It takes a lot for me to like chill and relax. But if you put my ass on the beach somewhere warm, I can relax. Like, that's the
You
one
chilling
place where I
there,
can
huh?
do it. That's where I love. That's why I love it. Like, I'm tightly wound, I'm busy, my mind's always racing, and it's just how I am. So yeah, yeah, man, I would be on the beach chilling for sure.
Nice,
Yep,
nice.
yep.
Well, bro, I appreciate you coming out tonight. It's been great, man. I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of
Thanks,
fun. Been
Mike.
looking forward to this all week. Really
So
enjoyed
have I.
chatting with you offline on the phone, and
For
definitely I'm
sure.
gonna hit you up. I'm gonna hit you up more often, as a matter of
Yeah, man,
fact. So
that I'm a phone call away if you need anything, and don't be shy. And I'm not just saying that, I mean it. Like, I'm here if you want to talk anytime,
yes,
man.
sir.
And I
I
appreciate you
def-
having me on. I
oh
appreciate
yes,
everybody
sir.
that kind of jumped in to listen to me ramble on about all this bullshit, and be on Mike's show. I appreciate it. I like watching Mike grow. I'm seeing his channel grow, and I'm seeing everything grow. And if I can help anybody, I'm all for that. It's not just about me, Mike. This is about you too, and I want to see you succeed. So I'm happy for you, man.
Well, thank you so much, brother. We put your link in the description of this video, but tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
So Abe's Exotic Reptiles on Instagram. Abe's Exotic Reptiles is my like business account on Facebook. Same on YouTube. I do have some videos. I haven't done one in a few months, but Abe's Exotic Reptiles everywhere. That's where I'm at right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh yeah, shout out to the homie Maine's More Creations. Yes,
Nice.
sir.
I like that shirt. Let me see that
Yeah,
logo.
it's dope.
That's solid.
Yeah, this
I
was
like
a
that.
pickup from Daytona.
That's nice.
It was nice, professional, all in a plastic bag, folded up. You can probably still see the creases. It's nice. So shout out to the homie Mains from Mains More
Yeah, for
Creations.
sure.
Appreciate the shirt.
Nice.
And also shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank y'all for coming out to support tonight. Again, I apologize. We can pull up comments during the episode, and that's all on me, technical issues because of how I set the video, but I really appreciate the support. I seen y'all kicking the conversations in the chat, so really appreciate all the love. Thank y'all for all the support. Thank y'all for coming out. Be blessed. Peace.
Thanks.